So again, we will be filing for resentencing tomorrow. We're seeking that they would be sentenced to life with the possibility of parole, as opposed to life without the possibility of parole, which is they currently have. That means that they would have 50 years to life because there were 2 murders. But because of the age upon which they were convicted, under 26, under current law, that means they're eligible for youthful parole. I think there is also important to have some introspection.
Yes, it is important, Mr. Gascon. So let's go ahead and let's do that. All right, what's up, familia? Welcome inside the pad. Hope you guys are doing good. Keep in between the lines. Got your load secure. It's been a minute since I've had a panel on here. I might be losing my touch. Let's find out. Me get to the comments here. Already losing the touch. Look at that. What's up, Maxine? Lord High. Hey, Convicted Hearts is in here. JR Zapata. Coach Dalbert, how you doing, Coach? Already letting it be known what his belief is. Money making Mike, Vic, Med, Culo, Big Dog, up North Cali. Culo to everybody, man. Anthony Bravo. All right, so let's go ahead and let's bring in a couple of special people. You guys can go ahead and find her on Convicted Hearts. Mi hermana one, Miss Jen Magana.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
How you doing tonight?
Doing good, doing good. This feels good to be back and discussing a very exciting topic today.
Yeah, how does it feel not being in the driver's seat as you are usually on Tuesdays where you're in charge? Yes, I feel powerful now.
I know. It actually feels pretty good. I like it. It's I feel like, I can just kick back and give my opinion tonight. So I like it. Thank you.
Well, let's do that. And let's bring in another lady who is near and dear to my heart. She is a special woman. You guys could find her on House of Rest Church 1, Miss Sharon Rocha.
Hello, hello. Good to see both of you guys. I haven't seen you both in a long, long time. So thank you both for having me. And I'm really, really excited to be here with each and every one of you. So let's get on with it. This is exciting.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for being here, sister. And,
Thank
just
you.
for everybody wondering, we were supposed to have somebody else on, and that person canceled because he's spending time with his family. I told him, good gosh, you gotta get your priorities straight, man. You gotta be here hanging out with me, but oh well. No, shout out to them.
I think that's a good excuse.
Yeah.
I guess maybe we'll give them a pass. I don't know. I'll sleep on it. How about that? I'll make my decision whether I give them a pass or not. So basically, we'll definitely get into the news that broke today. All right. But before we do all that, I want to get your ladies' opinions on just everything that happened with this case. I remember when this first happened back in 1989, and my family, I was a kid, right? But my family was all talking about it. Everybody had thoughts and opinions about it. And I remember my family just hating these kids, hating these dudes, man, saying like, oh, they're greedy, they're doing it for the money and everything. And I remember watching some of the first movies that came out. I don't know if anybody knows all of them. Like we're just talking off air. Miklo, Damien Chapa, he's in one of them. It's called Honor Thy Mother and Thy Father. There's a few movies out there about this story. There's a horrible one that came out, I don't know, like 7 years ago with gosh, I forgot the name of the actress. She's actually a singer. She played Kitty. It was a horrible movie, terrible movie. But this guy, this case, I've been keeping up with it throughout all the years, right? And it just became somewhat of a hot topic just recently due to the documentary, the show, what happened on the documentary of Peacock with Menudo and Roy Rosello coming out and saying what he said. And man, I'm just it's definitely an interesting topic. So let me go ahead and first start from the beginning and start with you, Jen. Did you hear about this when it really first happened, or was this later on when the case became big for you?
I feel like I did hear about it when it first happened, and we sort of had the same insight and feeling towards these young men. I mean, I feel like everybody here, anyways, looked at them like spoiled rich kids, and they were already prejudging and feeling like, they did this for the money, and they definitely were viewed that way. And everybody that I remember being surrounded with, anyways, my family and stuff. I was pretty young then, but still, yet we're looking at them like some spoiled brats that did this, for the money.
Okay. Sharon, do you remember when this first happened?
Of course I did. I remember feeling very uncomfortable watching. I was right at the peak after, I was right at that age after things had happened in my life. So it was right at that peak of, it was 2 years after um, me going through, some sexual abuse. And the uncomfortability, I remember always feeling very uncomfortable during that time, and just not wanting, because the trials were so long, they were very, very long, and just not wanting to sit, because my mom would always, have the TV on, and she would always be watching the trials, and family, everywhere you would go, everybody had the trials on. And it's like everybody would be stuck to their TVs watching this, and it was always very uncomfortable. But I remember this very, very well. I remember David asking me, "Do you remember that?" I said, "I remember those years. I do remember. I remember when they were apprehended as well." So yeah, I do remember it very, very well. It was a very tough years for me. So yes, I do remember them.
Yeah, and how can you not? I mean, it was a different time. It was the 1980s,
Oh yeah,
Miami Vice was rolling on TV. People were wearing coats with the shoulder pads. Hulkamania was running wild. It was a great time. But yeah, in the midst of all that, in the late 80s, this happened, and I remember everybody just being all over. And it was the first major case where all the news outlets were going to be there and covering it and all
yeah.
that good stuff. And it made just a media sensation across the country. It was something. I can't think of anybody that didn't know about it and the sweaters that they were wearing and
Yeah, they look like
all
they
that.
look like Easter eggs.
They did. Yeah,
They
yeah, that
really
was
did.
yeah, definitely. That was that was something else. That's definitely gonna go down in history. So now there's new history coming in that's gonna be made. Vic saying that they were in county with him. Okay, man. That's right, Vic. You are a dinosaur. That's right, man. Um, shout out to my boy Vic. Uh, all right. So let's just get to the meat on the bone here. Um, Jen, did you believe any of their story when the case was happening? Did you believe them at that time? Did you believe anything that they were saying, the defense, anything of that sort? As time has gone on, new things have came out. But at that time, did you believe anything of what they were putting out there?
You know, I'm ashamed to say it, but not originally. Like my first instinct was no way. That's the first go to sort of make an excuse for what they did. But the more that I listened, and over the years, not right away, but the more that I listened over the years and the details that were shared and sort of watching their facial expressions and how they reacted while sharing these things, and the more details that came out, even after they were sentenced to prison, it made it sound more believable to me because I could, in some ways, relate to some of the things that they shared. And I also happened to, I shared it before, but I had a stepfather in the house that investigated these type of crimes. And he normally was pretty harsh against anybody that's charged with murder or something like that. But watching this, like Sharon said, we all had this on our TVs, right? Like we were, watching this all the time. But I remember my stepfather saying that he believed that they were abused. And that shocked me because he normally sort of always had a, kind of prejudged people. And I carried his opinion pretty heavily since he had so much history with looking into these sort of crimes. But I feel like at first, yeah, I didn't so much believe them, but over time I backed up and eased up on that, and I believe they were. I believe they were sexually abused.
Sharon, time, at that time, because they were convicted, I believe, in 96 or 97. At that time, did you believe their story, or were you on the other side of like, yeah, no, they're making this up?
They were convicted in 96. You know, we obviously know they did it. I really believe they obviously did it. It was the manner that they did it. And because of the manner, the way of how horrific it was, I believe that they were abused in some form. Yes, I believed it because it can only take somebody that was just so hurt. And so it doesn't excuse it. It doesn't excuse what they did at all. When I was hearing everything at that age on the TV and everything, I felt a discomfort. Only somebody that can ever go through something like that can feel a discomfort, and you feel it. I remember feeling a discomfort. You can relate. A person can become relatable to somebody when you can relate to something like that. And I really, truly, truly believed. I believed it, but I didn't believe that it was right the way things were done.
Okay. Okay. So Jen, today, you believe they were sexually molested?
I do.
You
Yes,
do?
I do.
Okay. Okay. And just to get it clear, Sharon, once again, today, you believe that they were sexually molested?
Without a doubt.
Okay. Um, what about the money thing? I mean, do you believe the story that they killed their parents because they believed that they were going to be killed? Because that was their defense. They said, no, it was not for the money. Yet there is some evidence out there that's, it is pretty, it does make you think like, nah, I don't know, man. This kind of does seem like it is for the money, everything that happened afterwards. Um, what about that? Do you believe their story that no, we killed them that night because we thought they were going to kill us? Because apparently there was a confrontation at the bottom of the stairs where Eric had told his dad, this stops, or else I'm going to tell everybody what you're doing. And that he told Eric to go upstairs to go do whatever they're going to do. And Lau was saying no. And he told his mom, Kitty, he told her, he said, you're going to allow this. You're going to let this happen. And she told him, you ruined this family. You did. And basically, Jose, when Lau told him, you're not touching him again, or else I'm going to tell everybody that Jose had told them, you made your choice. Now I'm going to make mine. And they felt at that point that they were going to get killed by their parents. Do you guys believe that story. Okay, there's a few different stories here. I know everybody just goes, were they molested or were they not? Was it the money or were they molested? But do you believe that story that they unloaded with shotguns on them that night because of that confrontation, and that they apparently truly believe that Jose and Kitty were gonna kill them and they were in fear for their lives? Jen, do you believe that part of the story?
No, I believe, just my personal opinion, I believe that sounds like something maybe a defense attorney formulated. That that sounds like something very. This would definitely excuse what you did. So you feared for your life, right? You were scared, right? I can see that sort of coming into the conversation, attorney-client privilege conversation behind the scenes. No doubt something did happen that night. There was some type of family blow up. It may have, been discussed. Who knows what was threatened, what was said. But do I think they feared that their life would be taken? No. I think that was probably something that came up when they were speaking to their attorneys.
Okay. Sharon, do you believe that part of the story?
I agree with Jen as well. I believe that it's something that was formulated as well. Um, that's not believable. When something happens with something so gruesome and so horrific as that, I really, truly, truly believe that it just there was more. There was more to it. Something was left out, and I believe that maybe we'll never ever really know the full truth to what really truly happened, but I believe that there was more, and only obviously the parents that are no longer here, and they will know, but I believe that there was more. There has to be
You
more.
you really gotta give it up to that sleazeball therapist, man,
Oh yeah.
and his mistress, Judalon Smith. Gosh, man, when she took the stand, that was something else.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, yeah, so that was part of their defense, saying that no, they feared for their lives that night, and it was that night why they did what they did, because they feared that they were going to be killed um that night. That was part of their defense. So moving, fast forward to now, um, you have a lot of their family, with the exception of one uncle. I believe I forgot his name. It's like Milton Smith or something. He's actually lawyered up. Um, but for the rest of the family, they're advocating for them to get out. And not
Yes.
only that, but actually in the first trial, since there were two trials, a lot of them did come out. Now, none of them really said that, hey, they were sexually molested, except for that one female cousin that said Lyle did go up to her when they were kids. She's older than Lyle is, and Lyle went to her and wanted to sleep downstairs with her, and basically told her, why. And she went and told Kitty, and Kitty pretty much just ended up punishing Lyle and didn't do, she pretty much disregarded what what the cousin had told her, and pretty much just punished Lyle. Um, I know there's this talk about like, hey man, they went and they spent a lot of money afterwards. They weren't grieving. Of course, it's about the money. Jen, did the money play any role in this for you?
I know, looking at that, it looks bad. And I think the amount of what they spent, to most of us, anyways, that's crazy amounts of money that a lot of us will never even see. So it looked even worse. But I can say that something does happen to you, or it can, not to everyone maybe. something does happen to you after a traumatic event where you can sometimes go off the deep end, and that might be spending extreme amounts of money. It might be drowning yourself in substances or alcohol, and they may have just been relieved they weren't being abused and just been living it up. Who knows? Maybe they had never had access to that money themselves. Maybe they were doled out, portions like allowance. So they might have just gone crazy once they had access to the money. It didn't look good. I know that it was brought up during the trials, and it kind of came back to bite them. But I also do know that when you're going through something traumatic, you don't always make the best decisions when it comes to finances. I know I did.
Okay. All right. Sharon, do you think the money had any role?
I think they were young and dumb. That's for sure. A lot of the decisions that we're making, they were very dumb, and I think the age had a lot to do with it. But I want to say this. I want to go back to what you just said about the family. Family, a lot of the times, even though they're not saying the truth, doesn't mean it's not true. There's not truth to it. Because sometimes, a lot of the times, families, sometimes they rather stay quiet than to say the truth, you know, because that happens all the time.
Yes.
It happened in my life, because a lot of the times it's better to sometimes not to say nothing at all. So, but just the fact that they're there and they're advocating speaks much louder than words. Much louder than words. So to me, the fact that the family is there says a lot to me. So now in regards to the money, they could have did a lot if truly if they were as smart as they portrayed themselves to had been, which they weren't. They could have hid money. They could have did a lot of things to put that money in a different account, or they could have did, but they were spending lousy. They were doing things that they shouldn't have. And I think that's why I think they were just young and dumb. So it wasn't about the money. It had nothing to do about the money at all. I just think they were just young and dumb.
Okay. So Sharon, then in your mind, why did they kill them that night then? That specific night.
I think there was fear. I do believe that there was fear. If regardless, I think there was fear. Here's one thing. If somebody's gonna come and tell, we don't make this about ourselves, but if somebody came and told me when I was told, hey, listen, I'm not gonna go back to jail for a third strike for hitting you. But if I'm going to go back for a third strike, I'm going to go back because I'm going to get rid of you. What does that do to me? That's going to put fear in me. So the next time I get beaten and the next time I get hurt or the next time something's done to me, I'm going to fight for my life. I'm going to fight with everything that I have within me. I'm not going to let somebody come and try to take my life. I'm going to fight for it. And so I really believe that, if somebody puts fear in somebody that way after they've been hurt for so long, you're going to fight for your life.
But this was premeditated, was it not? They bought the shotguns, I believe, 2 days beforehand.
I once again, we can't speculate on everything. They do have proof that they bought shotguns and everything, whether or not they prepared themselves or anything. But we can't speculate that, they said, oh, we're going to do it on this day, whether they prepared themselves because they were already getting threatened. We don't know that.
Okay.
We don't know that.
Okay. All right. Jen, does that mean I'm just playing Cholo's advocate here. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just, yeah, I know people kind of say like, hey, you shouldn't say devil's advocate. So I'm Cholo's advocate. And I speak as myself as a third person. When I become king and dictator, it's
Oh
gonna be
yeah.
such a great place to live. And I'm telling everybody. Jen, was this premeditated? Did you take that into consideration? They did. I mean, it's on record. They bought the guns before
Yeah,
that.
they did.
So they had those suckers there.
They did. So from what I understand, and I'm just, like I said, this is obviously their story about them, but we can all take a portion of our life and use it to form an opinion. From my understanding, going through the stuff that I went through back in the day with my own family's uh, crime that happened, I was told it can only take 5 minutes to formulate premeditation. So the second you make the decision to either not release your hands from someone's neck, or if you go out and purchase a firearm, you have formulated some sort of premeditation. So if they went out 2 days before this happened, I mean, that's going to look like they had a plan.
And does that make a difference for you, Jen?
For me personally, at this point,
I'm not talking. Yeah, for you personally, I'm not talking about like the court system. Like, well, the court decides that 5 minutes beforehand. For you personally, because this is a few days beforehand. So for you personally, does this make a difference?
so it's hard. For me, I do take into consideration what I feel we know now, and the fact that they were being abused all those years. It's hard for me not to take that into consideration, but just to be cut and dry about it, I feel like they did formulate, whether that had been okay, we're going to get these guns, that if mom and dad come at us again, we're going to defend ourselves. They formulated some kind of plan. It may not have been, hey, we're going to go in there and we're going to just blast them in 2 days. But they have formulated some type of plan to either defend themselves if they were approached again. But I don't think it makes a difference for me now, this many years later. I think it's been, what, 34, 35 years. So
Yeah, 35 years.
Right. Yeah. And hang on. Sorry, I'm getting text messages over here on how I'm conducting this, that I'm not giving my thoughts or opinions. I will. I'm just trying to squeeze thoughts
Yeah,
and
I know you're not.
No, I'm getting it out of you ladies first. I got my thoughts, my beliefs, and my opinions. They're coming. Let me silence this. Sorry. Okay, so
Well,
Jen,
it's really hard to give your thoughts and opinions on the then and the now, with what's known now. Do you get what I'm saying? So
yeah.
it's kind of really hard, because it's kind of hard to separate the two things, because with what you know now, where I'm kind of going in between, and I'm kind of formulating my opinion as well with what I know now as well. So
Well,
I can't really separate it, because I do know what I know now, and now it's like, okay, um, with what I know now, everything, it changes everything. It really does.
well, Sharon, there are some. I mean, there are some people that don't believe their story. There are some people that say they're manipulators. They're liars. They were never molested, and it was all about greed, and it was all about money. They're rich, spoiled brats. There are people that still do believe that. I know you guys are saying like, well, now that we know that they were molested. Actually, no, we don't know that. It's either you believe that they were or you believe that they weren't. Some people don't believe that they were molested. That's why I'm saying there's no proof. Everything that was a testimony for them, there was no proof of sexual molestation. I remember there was somebody that took the stand and said there was other type of abuse that they were able to see. They were able to see verbal abuse, but I don't think Jose Menendez was actually into physical abuse, because I never heard anybody say they saw bruises, they saw cuts, they saw lashes, they saw anything on their sons. You know, sexual abuse, it's in your privates. So unless you know you're really examining a kid in that nature, you're not going to be able to see, you know, sexual abuse, especially if you're abusing a kid orally. There's nothing there for another adult to say like, you know what, I think something's going on at home. No, there, that abuse is not out there in the open. When people think about child abuse, the first thing they think about is bruises, broken bones, cuts, anything, marks of whipping. But that's physical abuse. When it's sexual abuse, it's a whole different animal, because you can't tell, you can't see it, you can't tell it like you could physical abuse. But as somebody that took the stand and that said like, look, there was other abuse that I can tell you about. There was definitely verbal abuse. I saw Jose, just put them to shame in front of everybody, when he took Eric out of the pool and shaked him. He was just a little kid and in front of everybody, right? It was a different time. It was, like I said, 70s, 80s. Today, you do that, it's gonna be all over social media, and people are gonna, have a big riff about it. So there are people that don't believe that they're abused, and I kind of want to get to that now. Okay, I'll start with you first, Jen, and that is why not come out and talk about this, right? There's a great, I have a boxing channel, so I follow boxing, and Mario Lopez, shouts to AC Slater, man. He's got a great boxing show called the Three Knockdown Rule with Steve Kim. And they, they talked about this very briefly, and they took the video down. I'm assuming because he got so much backlash. Um, because he had said like, how come they didn't tell the Dr. Ozil? Why did they wait to say that they were sexually molested? Why didn't they bring this out as soon as they killed their parents? If it wasn't for the money, why not come out and say that they were not sexually molested? Why didn't they talk about this? Not when they're little kids, but as adults. Why didn't they leave? They're adults. Eric was 18, and Lyle didn't even live there. He lived across the country. He was going to Princeton. He was 21 years old. Why not take off? Why not leave? Why not tell somebody? Why not go to authorities? Why when you commit the murders and you have access to the money, or when you first got busted, why not say, look, this is what they're doing to us? Why not? Why did they wait so long? Why is it that people believe that it's the attorney that came in and said, listen, read this book, because this is how I got somebody off with manslaughter.
Hmm.
Do this. We're going to go down this route. Why didn't they come out? Jen, do you take that into consideration? Why did they wait so long? If they were really truly abused, why did they wait so long to use that as we're jacked up in the head? Because they did this to us. Why do you take that into consideration at all, Jen?
I do. And I still sort of toss that around just to make sure and check my feelings, like where do I really stand with this? But if I'm being completely honest, my personal opinion is that there are hundreds of thousands of people that probably never come out and speak about their abuse. If you come from a family where especially sexual abuse is happening, that's not typically something you come out and share, even as an adult. There's things that a lot of people choose to take to the grave because it's just too painful to address. And I think it could be possibly even deeper for young men to address if that's happening at the hands of their own father, maybe even in a family where that father is sort of someone that rules with an iron fist and controls all of the money, the decision making. that could all play into why they didn't tell. Now, I think also the brothers probably had a very codependent relationship. So even though one was out of the house, in some way he felt some sort of obligation to protect and defend his younger brother, and he probably felt some guilt over his own actions towards his brother that he later admitted and apologized for. So it's not typical, in my opinion, that sexual abuse is something that comes out firsthand as, hey, remember when this happened, or this is why. It's pretty shameful to most people who have experienced it.
Sharon, you and I have an experience with child molestation, but yours is a little bit closer to home because the man that you believe to be your father, you have shared your story on this before. So I'd like to hear your opinion when people are saying, why didn't they say anything? Why did they wait? As soon as they got busted for murder, why did they wait so long? Why did they wait for Leslie Abramson to approach them with a book, to promote, to push them to look? We got to get this. Why didn't they just come out and say it?
You know, I the only reason why, my who I thought was my father was even found out is because my mother caught him in the act. And my mom's reaction when she found him in the act, and this is why I say people's reactions are so sudden. Her reaction was to run and grab me and to grab me and put me in, and I almost couldn't even breathe because she was holding me so tight and chasing him with a knife, and because that's the love of a mother. So it makes me question, it really makes me question, this mother, like where was this mother? Where did she stand? And I think that has been the one thing that has made me question things, like about the truth or not the truth, because I've thought to myself, how long could a mother stand to bear to see her children go through so much pain and hurt for so long if she knew that this was going on? And I've questioned that, and I've thought to myself, like, how, because my mother couldn't bear it one time. For one time that she saw that, my mom couldn't even breathe. It almost killed her heart that day when she saw what was happening to me. So how can a mother sit there and see this happen over and over and over and over for so long and hold that? So that's one thing. Then, you're absolutely right about them hanging on to that for so long, because I don't know how much longer, because my spirit was dead. I used to be a happy little girl for so long, up to a certain age. And my spirit was dead from the age of pretty much from the ages of 8 to 12 years old. You can see it. It's almost like the spirit of joy leaves a child. You no longer see life in a child. You no longer see it because they become so separated from the world. Their joy is no longer there. They become so broken that they have no more laughter. They separate from people. It's a life, it's a lonely life when you're being robbed of your innocence and you're being robbed of your childhood. When you're being robbed of all of that, you no longer feel the same around other children, around people. Your life is not the same. So I just don't, it's, you're right. It's called panda eyes. I saw somebody just say that because my eyes constantly looked sad. I was a sad young girl for so long. So this is why I say that sometimes you see it in people. They don't have to say something because you see it in young people, you see it in children. So, you know, when I saw certain things, when I heard certain things, I feel it. And, maybe back then, because I was a little girl and I was hearing things on TV so much, it was affecting me. So maybe that's what was happening to me when I was hearing this story. Because of hearing it, it affects a person.
Okay, Sharon, can it be that you're being biased because it happened to you? So they scream sexual
Yeah. Yes,
molestation,
it can
and
be.
maybe that you might be biased. Have you thought about that at all?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I admit to that, and I don't have a problem admitting to that. So here's the thing. That's why I said that I can, I can't say it's wrong, but I can't say that it's that's why I rather not formulate that opinion. And, I'm nothing or no one to give that judgment. And, I'm so grateful that I'm not God. you know I'm so thankful that I'm not God, because all you can do is pray for them and just be thankful that I'm not the one that's going to formulate that judgment. And just pray that the truth does come out, and just pray, because yeah, you're right, and I'm okay with admitting that. It's hard. It's a really hard situation.
Okay. Yeah. For those who don't know, Sharon, I've had Sharon on the channel, and she shared her story of sexual abuse by who she believed at that time was her father. Both her and I were molested as kids. I would not. With me, it wasn't by my father. So, I don't have that. I don't have that experience. So, I mean, maybe I could speak a little bit to it, but I don't have the experience of, oh, it was my dad. So that's why I was going to have somebody else on here, which I will have on here, who, that did happen to him by his father. You know who it is, Sharon. He's actually out of the country right now, sharing the good word of the Lord, man. But
Yeah.
okay, so Jen, word came out today. We showed the video. All right, let me show it just one last time, and I want to get you guys' opinion.
So again, we will be filing for resentencing tomorrow. We're seeking that they would be sentenced to life with the possibility of parole, as opposed to life without the possibility of parole, which is they currently have. That means that they would have 50 years to life because there were 2 murders. But because of the age upon which they were convicted, under 26, under current law, that means they're eligible for youthful parole. I think there is also important to have some introspection.
Okay. All right, and I'm so ready to give my thoughts on this. But Jen, should they be let out? I mean, it's not up to us, but tomorrow he's gonna file it. It doesn't mean that they're gonna get out. It still has to go through the court and everything of that nature. But I believe that they have a really good chance of getting out. But Jen, to you personally, if it was up to one misconvicted hearts, Jen Magana, do they get out? Should they get out?
So if I'm looking at the California law and I'm looking at the youthful offender law and everything that it stands for, then yes, they should get out and they will get out. They've served their time and they will be home probably sooner than people probably imagine. They could possibly be home by Thanksgiving.
Okay, that's on the record through the court law. But now I'm talking to Jen. Jen, your belief. Outside of the courts, outside of the law, it's up to you. Do you want them out or not? Or I shouldn't say want, but should they get out or not?
Okay, I feel they've done their time. They have served their sentence, and they should be considered to be released. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Sharon, if it's up to you, should they be released?
Yes.
They should.
Mhm.
Okay. If their family was not advocating for them, would that change your mind, Jen?
You know, it does make an impression that I didn't realize before they had such tremendous backing. They had a lot of family there backing them. It wouldn't change my mind, but it definitely made an impression to see that amount of family standing there supporting them.
Okay. Sharon, if your family was not advocating for the release, would that sway you one way or the other?
A little, yes.
Okay. Okay.
It would a little bit.
Okay.
Because it goes back to what I told you earlier, because it speaks a lot.
Okay. All right. Like I said, there is one uncle who's lawyered up and is trying to fight against this. He does want them to stay in prison for the rest of their life. That is Kitty Menendez's brother. To my understanding, he's the only one. Everybody else is advocating for them. Last question for you guys. And not that I'm kicking you guys off. Let's stay on here. Let's talk about this. But this has been said, and I think it's interesting. There's really no way to prove it. Jen, if they were girls, do you think this would have been looked at differently if they were the Menendez sisters? Do you think the case would have gone different? Do you think the jury would have looked at it different? Would they have served as much time as they're doing now? Do you think there would have been a difference had they been the Menendez sisters?
I do. I do actually. I think that they would have already been out if they had received a sentence like that at all. I think they would have been definitely treated a little bit more compassionately, delicately. There would have been much maybe poking fun at the things that they chose to do with money or different things like that. I think that they would have gone a lot easier on them had it been young ladies that committed this crime and they had been abused at the hands of their father.
Okay. Sharon, if they were the Menendez sisters, do you think it would have been handled a little differently?
Um, when they did their second trial, they were not able to use the sexual abuse on the second trial when they were sentenced, and the DA, I think it was the prosecuting DA back then, made a comment and said they don't even have the right part for them to have been raped, and that was very, very harsh even to know about that, because men can be raped, and I'm just going to leave that there, because the fact that they weren't able to use that at that second trial, and for them to because a man can be raped.
Okay. All right. We got a difference of opinions in the chats. Loving it. Okay. So let me give my thoughts and my opinions on this. Let me move the water over. I don't want to spill anything. I might get a little animated here. Um. Okay. So first of all, Da Gascon. I don't know who. Gosh, this guy's got to take some speaking lessons. Good gosh, he's up there just mumbling, and it's like he's talking slow. You can't really hear him. It's like, guy, come on, man. How do you put a mic in front of you and you can't even like really come out? And the good thing, the funny thing about watching this earlier was the guy on the side heckling him, talking about the election. He's all like, "Sir, you're bothering me. You're bothering me." And then the lady that came on after him, that was like, "Oh, you know what? He's so brave and so courageous to take this on." Talk about Gascon. I'm like, let's cool it, lady. He's so brave and courageous and fearless. Like let's calm down. Growing up, Evil Knievel was fearless. Gascon, I don't know if he's really that fearless, but anyway, nonetheless, okay. Look, this is how I feel, and this is what I believe, and I could be wrong. Like we said here tonight, nobody actually knows the truth except for Lyle and Eric. Okay. Nobody on the chat, nobody watching this on the archives, neither one of us on this panel know what the actual truth is. All we go on is why, then why this, then why that. That's all circumstantial. That's not actual proof to show this is exactly what happened. We don't know exactly what happened. But with all the whys and all the circumstantial stuff, we can formulate thoughts, opinions, and everybody is on different sides on this. And that's cool. That's fine. Here is where I stand on this. Okay. I believe that they were molested. I do. Okay. I do believe that they were molested. I believe that Kitty knew. And by the way, doing some research and also listening to the trial, they did point out that Kitty did get involved in some of the molestation just a little bit by getting naked and having Lyle touch her. Right. So there is a little bit on that, but there's also, again, I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. Anybody in the chat, anybody that watches this, you could leave your comments, whatever it may be. You don't know the truth, and neither do I. I'm telling you guys what I believe. All right. And I could be 1,000% wrong, but I do believe they're molested, and I'll get to why in just a second. Okay. But on top of this, people are advocates, or I saw there's some people that are saying, like, oh man, they look how they did Kitty, and why kill her if she wasn't the one that molested you? Why kill her? Here is why I believe they're molested. Okay. This is why I believe. All right. If your kids believe it's a good idea to whack you for money, parents, you did something extremely wrong in raising your kids. Okay. If I win the lottery tonight and I tell my sons, you know what? You waffles ain't getting a single penny. I'm leaving this. You guys are, I'm leaving this will to the state of California, which would really anger them. I'm not going to have to worry about them busting down the door and lighting me up with shotgun. All right. When the shooting happened, when the Columbine shooting happened, Eric Harris's dad, or was it Dylan Klebold? No, I think it was Eric Harris's dad. This audio is out there. You guys can look this up. Eric Harris's dad. Eric Harris was one of the shooters. Okay, at the Columbine High School. Eric Harris's dad. While the shooting was going on, Eric Harris's dad called authorities, and this is recorded. You guys can look this up. And he said, "I think my son is involved." And the operator said, "Involved how?" And the dad said, "I think he's one of the shooters." All right. Again, I've said this before. If my sons were somewhere where there's a shooting going on, my first thought is not like, you know what, it might be one of them. No, that's not my first thought. That was the first thought on him, because he knew there was something up with his son. My first thought, and most parents' thoughts, would be like, I need to get over there. I hope they keep their head down and get the heck out of there to safety. Not like, yeah, maybe it could be him. Let me call authorities and say that maybe it could be him. If your kids think it's a good idea to kill you for money, parents, you did something extremely wrong. This is why, right? And with so many other things that I'm gonna get to right now, this is why I believe that they were molested. I think multiple things can be true at once. Do I think they did it for the money? Honestly, yeah, I do. There's a lot of good circumstantial evidence out there that says, yeah, you know what? Let's get a payday. But they were already screwed up in the head. And think about this: if an 18 and 21-year-old are that greedy, where they're willing to kill their parents, who raised those kids? Who raised those kids to be these monsters that they can go see mom on the ground, reload, put the barrel to her face, and blow her face off? There was something going on, which is why I believe they were molested. On top of that, I should say, here's the thing. If they're going to make it up, okay? If they're going to make it up, okay, then why not say that Kitty was molesting them? If they're going to, again, we all think why in our heads. Why did they spend the money? Why did they go on a shopping spree? Why didn't they come out and speak about it? Heck, I was molested. I didn't talk about that for 3 years ago. I didn't even tell any of my family members. Nobody. Okay, so I can understand at least with that. But here's the thing. Lyle says he was molested from 6 years old to 8 years old. Eric says he was molested all the way through till the killing. To help your case, why would Lyle stop at 8 years old? If we're going to make this up, why not Lyle say, no, he was molesting me all the way through as well? Heck, when I went to Princeton, I was happy because I got away from the abuse, because he abused me all the way through my teenage years. Why stop at 8 years old? And why not make mom seem a little worse than she is? Throw her in the mix. Now, there was a little bit of sexual abuse with mom, not to the extent that they put Jose out there. But if we're going to use this, then throw mom out there. If we're going to make this up, dude, let's say both of them were doing it to us. Let's say both of them did it to us all the way through. Why is Lyle going to stop at 8 for only 2 years, which has a lot of scars? Okay, a lot of scars. But Eric continues all the way through. If we're going to make this up, let's help our case. Now, do I believe they were coached up? Absolutely. That's what lawyers are meant to do. They're meant to coach you up. Okay, nobody cares about the truth in the court system. They care about the win. That is it. Okay, we win. We're not looking for the truth. So, do I believe they were rotten, spoiled brats? I have no. There's people that are saying like, "Oh, these are good, innocent kids." I got no problem believing that they're rich, spoiled, rotten brats at all. Heck, I didn't know them, but I got no problem believing that. Yeah, maybe they were rich and spoiled. Hell, they were out there robbing homes that Jose Menendez had to pay those people off. Jose Menendez had to pay money. Now think about that. It's not like Jose Menendez is this innocent dude. He's over there paying people off to, let's keep this quiet. Okay, because I don't want to ruin the reputation. So he's paying people off. This is the reason why they moved to Beverly Hills and out of Calabasas. Let's not make it seem like this was one great loving family and just out of nowhere, your kids just went rogue and are going to light you up with shotguns. It wasn't even in a humane way where it's like, hey, let's poison mom and dad and they could go to sleep. oh, wait a second, they wanted to make it seem like it was a mob hit. How much money would it take for any of you? I'm not just talking about you ladies on the panel, but anybody watching. How much money would it take for you to go whack your parents? Because obviously, if it's all about money, then there's got to be a price. Like the $1 Million Man says, everybody's got a price. Then there's got to be a price for you to go blow holes in your parents. Now, if you're gonna say, "Oh yeah, no," but that's them, that's not me. Okay, who made them like that? Then? They weren't raised by anybody else. So I believe multiple things are true. I believe the money did play a part. Absolutely. I do believe they were sexually molested. If not, then why would Lyle just stop at 8 years old? I don't. We're gonna make this seem bad and gruesome. Let's throw mom. Hey, mom sexually molested us too. Like, why not throw that in there? So I believe a lot of their story. Do I believe that they were in fear for their lives that night? That's the part where I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't know about that part. Interesting thing is, um, apparently they waited for law enforcement to show up, and when they didn't, that's when they started thinking, hey, maybe we could get away with this. Looking at a real estate channel that covered this house, I didn't know this, and I didn't hear the prosecution bring this up. That house is soundproof. In the 1940s, that house was renovated. That house, that's an old house. It's over 100 years old. At that time, in the 1940s, somebody had moved in there, renovated that house, and made those walls soundproof. I did not hear anything whatsoever in the prosecution or the defense. I mean, why would the defense bring that up? But I didn't hear the prosecution bring that up at all. I don't know if the Menendez family was aware of that or not, but the walls were soundproof. So that is my thoughts off the record. Off the record, Lord forgive me. I think Kitty and Jose got exactly what they got. That is my flesh talking and my feelings talking. Okay. On the record, on the record. I'm not saying these dudes are some good guys. I'm not, that's what I'm saying. Multiple things can be true. Now, they served so many years, and the answer for me, whether they should, well, actually, before I get to that, I'm sorry. They are just there sitting there quietly. Jen, any thoughts, sister, before I give what I believe should happen now?
I like what you said. I like the way you put that. And I mean, the fact that I didn't hear that about Kitty being part of the whole sexual molestation. I just was already basing my opinion on her for not protecting her boys. So that really changed my feelings towards her even more. And then the soundproofing of the home, that's interesting.
Sharon?
Yeah, that's new to me too. But that whole thing about Kitty as well. But another thing that was interesting that you mentioned was the fact of them going out. They had no need to go out and do robberies and everything. And I think that's doing it deliberately. They did that deliberately. They were acting out and they were trying to get back at dad, as I believe. They were doing that so that they can make dad pay the price.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of I mean, heck, a lot of girls that want to get back at dad, turn very sexual and get into porn and
Promiscuous, they become
oh
promiscuous.
yeah,
They become, yeah. So
yes, yes,
that was their way. That was their way. Like, you know what? I'll show him. Let's make him pay. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't think there is a good guy here. I don't think Kitty was a good person, in a parent. I don't think Jose. And by the way, now Roy Rosello from Menudo,
Mhm.
súbete a mi moto, dulces y
Yeah.
besos. Oh, we gotta have a karaoke night with Menudo. Now, he's come out,
Yeah.
and if he didn't even come out really against Jose Menendez. He just happened to mention Jose. He actually came out about his manager, the manager of Menudo. I forgot the dude's name, who's still out, and people have came out and said like, yeah, I did see that dude with underage kids, and I did see him in bed with Roy Rosello. And he just happened to mention Jose Menendez, who bought the contract when Jose was working with RCA Records, and said, "Yeah, he when I was 13, he gave me alcohol, drugged me, and raped me. I think like twice, right? But he was mainly focused on his manager from Puerto Rico. Shout out to all the Puerto Ricos out there, man. Um, I went to New York, and my goodness, those guys know culture and how to really party. Um, so I would say this: the whole thing on, hey, why didn't they come out and talk about it? Why not? Why? Why didn't I come out and say it?
Well,
Why
I was
didn't I
about to
come out
ask
and
you. I
say,
was about to ask you that same question. Why did it took you a very, very long time, to come out with what happened with you?
you know, I used to, I used to brag. I used to brag about being 9 years old and having sex with a 16-year-old female, right? Um, that's molestation, right? But back in my dumb, stupid young days, I could go out there and brag like, dog, I've been smashing since I was 9, homie, right? Right. But that wasn't my first sexual experience, because the person that molested me was a male, and I never spoke about it ever. And I never thought I would, especially public like this, showing my face. Never. The and I don't, Jen, you mentioned this, but I don't want to be out of pocket here, but I do believe it's a little bit, just a little bit tougher for a guy to come out and say that, you know, that
Absolutely.
happened to him by another guy, you know, um, as opposed to a female. Not to say that's easy for a female, nothing of that whatsoever, but the shame, everything that comes with it, and it's just it's a scar that you think, it doesn't bother you, or it's gone, it's in your past, that's it. But no, 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 it's very much there. It's very much there. So for them not to bring that up, I could see it. I could see that. I believe it. Again, I want to make it 100% clear. Nobody knows what happened. I'm telling you guys what I believe, and I could be wrong. Heck, maybe these dudes were never molested. Maybe they're just master manipulators. Maybe they just learned that from a movie, and Jose and Kitty were, the great parents and trying to raise them in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. I doubt it. I doubt it. And I'll say it again to everybody. If your kids, either if they're kids or adults, if they think that it's a good idea to kill you, you're the parent. If they think it's a good idea to kill you for whatever reason, especially it being money, you failed as a parent. You failed as a parent. Especially when I hear people talking about, like, oh, it's because they wanted to make it look like a mob hit. To make it look like a mob hit, especially if they're gonna do it in a gruesome way like that with no heart, there is something extremely wrong there. I'm not talking about one kid. I want everybody to think about this. This is all just circumstantial. Maybe you neglected a kid, and he goes and he joins a cult or something, and gets brainwashed, comes back and does something. Maybe. But think about this. Not one of your kids, but both of your kids both agree, hey, let's whack mom and dad in this gruesome way, where if mom is still begging for her life or still breathing and moving, We're gonna reload the shotty and blow it right through her face. Failed miserably as a parent. So that's why I believe them. I believe that they were really abused. And I believe money did play a part of it. I think more than one thing can be true at once. Now, what happens now? What do I think should happen now? Honestly, I've been on the side that they should be released. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. It's an easy answer, but it's a complicated situation. Because do I believe they should be released? Sure, but only if you're going to keep an eye on them. These guys are coming out to the free world. They were molested as kids. A lot of child molesters were molested themselves. You got to keep an eye on them. They don't have money. That's another thing I hear people, oh, you know what? There's money about. No, they don't. They actually don't have it. Look into it. They don't have money. Now, is there going to be money out waiting for them for interviews and things of that nature? Yeah, sure. I say they use extortion. I'll get to that in a second. But there's no money for them to go paying anybody off and saying, hey, come advocate for me. Hey, come say this, come say that. I believe they're a little bit of manipulators. Yeah. I don't believe they're just a bunch of good dudes and anything of that nature. No, man. I think they were made that way by Jose mainly, and Kitty stood by and allowed it. And when mom stands by and allows it, she is pretty much pushing dad to go do that. All right. So that's my belief. Should they be let out? Yes, but only if you're going to keep a close eye on them. They spent most of their life in prison. The years that they were out, especially Eric, more Eric than Lyle, was molestation. So if you're not going to do that, then leave them in. If you
Do
are
they
going to,
have kids?
no, but they are married.
Yeah, they're both married. So
Yeah, they're married, but they're not. Both of them are not allowed conjugal visits.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
One had stepchildren with his wife, but none
Which, by
biological.
the way, I'm not wishing this on them, but if they do get out, I do believe they'll end up getting divorced at some point. I that's just my belief. It happens a lot with guys, women that go marry dudes that are in prison, and they're doing so many years, and then they get out. Fast forward 5 years, they're not together anymore.
Yeah, Lyle was married twice.
Yes, he was while he was incarcerated. Yes, he
Yeah.
was. What a
Yeah,
true
divorced in
Californian.
2001. Yeah.
What a true
Wow.
Californian. Yes. What I was saying, they can use extortion for their name. Just real funny, man. Before we ended, I remember O.J. Simpson, the Juice. I remember he was being interviewed when he was released. I forgot who he was being interviewed by, but he they had asked him about the presidential election, and he said, are you voting for somebody? And he's all like, oh yeah, Hillary Clinton. And I said, that's your go to money there, Juice. This is what you do now. You go to any major corporation like Coca-Cola and you say, hey, listen, Coca-Cola, I will advocate, I will promote the heck out of your business unless you pay me 10 grand a month. If you do not pay me 10 grand a month, because he's OJ Simpson. Okay, he's not no. You do not want to be promoted by OJ Simpson. So that's what I'm saying. He could go to Coca-Cola and say, if you don't give me 10 grand a month, okay, I'm gonna be everywhere where there's cameras, and I'll be wearing a Coca-Cola t-shirt. I'll be wearing a Coca-Cola. Every time they put a mic in front of me, I'm gonna take a sip of my Coca-Cola and say, like, Coca-Cola is what made me on and off the field. I will endorse the heck out of your product. So if I'm the Menendez brothers, how do you make money? Extortion. You go and you tell people, listen, man, if you do not want me to endorse your product, you pay me so much money a month. and that's how you make the money. I'm kidding, but anyway, that's my thoughts. That's my beliefs. We definitely have to take into consideration that these guys were molested. If for those that believe they were molested, I do believe they're molested. Roy Rosello, why would he come out and just say that? Eric and Lau don't have money to pay him. They don't have money. Um, so I do believe they were truly molested. We got to take that into consideration. They have not been out in the free world in society. We don't know mentally where they stand. Well, I mean, I've been watching and listening to a couple people that have worked with them in there, but again, it's gonna be a huge culture shock. You're gonna have to keep an eye on them and see what they're doing. But ultimately, do I believe they should be um, released? Yes, and I've actually, I don't want to say been advocating because I haven't done anything, nor will I. But I've believed them for many years, but I've also believed that they were rich, spoiled, rotten brats at the same time. And I do believe money took place. But I've always stood with, if your kids kill you, you did something extremely wrong. So that's my thoughts. Jen, any last words, sister, before we wrap it up?
I think that was a great, the way you summed it up there, that really explains it in a way that a lot of people can understand. And I feel like it is what it is. And like you said, many things can be true at once. And I definitely feel that's so in this case. So best of luck for them. We'll see what happens.
Okay. Sharon, any last words, sister?
Not really, because at the end of everything, they're gonna have to stand before God one day, and He'll be the ultimate judge. And we can stand here and try to speculate and try to figure things out and everything, and like you said, best of luck to them. But I just say the best of blessings to them. I just got to pray for them. And I just hope the best for them, and that the day that they stand before the Lord, that the judgment be on them, and that's it. We all got to stand. We all got to stand before the big guy, and that day is going to come. Whether it be sooner or later, but that day is going to come. So we just leave it all unto the Lord.
Amen.
Yes.
To that. I want to thank both of you ladies.
Thank you
for your time, for coming on here. I want to thank both of you ladies for letting me rant into your ears.
It was fun. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for tapping in tonight. Anybody who's watching this on the archives, let me know what you guys think. You guys can find my hermana right here, Jen Magana on Convicted Hearts, Sharon Rocha, House of Rest Church up in the guest room. Definitely putting in the good Lord's work up there. And we shall see what happens with this. And let's not forget, everybody's paying attention to this case because it's a high profile case. But there's a lot of cases like this. And some people think this may open the door. And it might. And maybe some cases might need to be looked at. So we'll see what the future stands. With that, we'll go ahead and leave it with one of the greatest talkers I've ever heard. You go ahead and you let me know what you think on this great man that just knows how to work a mic on one, Mr. Gascon. You guys have a good night.
So, again, we will be filing for resentencing tomorrow. We're seeking that they would be sentenced to life with the possibility of parole, as opposed to life without the possibility of parole, which is they currently have. That means that they would have 50 years to life because there were 2 murders. But because of the age upon which they were convicted, under 26, under current law, that means they're eligible for youthful parole. I think there is also important to have some introspection